Now, I'm live. And everybody's going to be like, woohoo, Barry. I love when that happens. They're like, wait a minute, which Barry is this? Oh, the Barry with DDoS. Okay. You realize there's two Barry Browns and one Barry Browning.
Right.
Plus another Barry L.
I've kind of been away from being in chats for quite a while. It always came up Barry Brown Construction.
Hey, nobody.
On my chat.
How are you? Hello, Bob. Hello, Nelson. Hi, Isaac. 2 nights in a row. Woohoo!
Hey, Bob.
Everybody say hi, Barry. Now, this is Barry Brown. We had Barry Browning on, and this is Barry Brown. Hey, sis.
From Barry Brown Construction. They'll know that. Some of them will, anyway.
Yeah. Hey, Peppy. How are you guys doing tonight? It just rained and rained and rained and rained. And I ran down, hubby and I ran down to the property to talk to the guy about putting the groundwork in. And he just, hey, Carolyn Bell. And he just shook his head and said, there ain't no way. He said, it'll cost you a fortune. He said, it's so wet here. He said, I won't be able to get my trucks back in through here unless I dump like 8 loads of shale first. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we started looking around. Hey, Jamie. We started looking around and I found a better place to put it. Hi, Jenny. And we finally found a place up on a knoll, which is about 4.5, 5 feet, maybe. It's okay, nobody. You're fine. No, your coffee's not ready yet. Mine's not, so yours can't be. Anyway, about 4.5, 5 feet up on this little knoll. And it's probably a good 50, 60 feet. So what he's going to do is he said that he thinks he's going to put in a little culvert, fill that in, come around the back, go up the back, make a circle, and make it so where we can pull the RV in, you know, turn around and come back out the other direction.
Right.
And he said it'll save us about half the money that we would have to spend if we were going to go where I originally had, you know, thought we were going to go.
It's not as far in.
Well, it's not just that. See, I was trying to stay within that 300 feet of the street. Hey, Belle, because if I did, it wouldn't cost me anything for them to put a pole there. But now that I have to go from the pole all the way over probably another 100, 150 feet, then, you know, that's going to take us. But he said he'll show us how to put it underground. He'll actually show us how to do that. And that way it's our expense and not them charging us, because they charge like...
Wow, that's a good deal.
Yeah, it is. And then I found out this guy also, he'll do the brush hogging for us and stuff like that needs to be done. The only issue that we have with this whole deal is it's supposed to rain like all week. And this is the only week I have left to get stuff up there. So he said that because he lives right down the street, he said he's going to go there as often as he can to make sure that at least we can get in and get the RV in and worry about anything else later. So I was like, well, thank you very much. Anyways, wow. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the chat. Tonight we have Barry Brown from Barry Brown Construction. He is the gentleman, if you don't remember who he is, that went out with DDoS, spent some time at Brown Springs. And he's joining us tonight and going to tell us some of his good old stories. Right?
Oh, yes.
See? Told ya. Anyways, hey, Barry.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. We got to talk for a while before I went live, and we were just discussing other stuff. All the stuff that the banana stuff that we're not allowed to talk about here. So we were talking about some other alternative stuff between him and I. Anyway, so.
Medical issues.
Yeah, medical issues. Lots of people have them. Well, you're not in bad shape, you know. You've got to consider what you're going through at your age and stuff like that. You're in a lot better shape than people, you know, than a lot of other people. Hey, John.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Absolutely.
We still consider ourselves blessed, right?
Absolutely.
Told ya.
Every day. Every day.
Okay, so I think we have, I don't know how many people. It looks like we have 11 people in here so far. So let's give it a few more minutes because I know they like to pop in a little bit later. Hey, Jacobo, how are you?
I got in a little bit late on last night's because I didn't get my notification like I should have.
Yeah, and it took me 3 times to try to go live last night. We were having problems, and I was just talking to Kevin, and his computer's going whack, and they kept telling me I had no internet, and I was like, duh, I'm on the internet, but it just kept telling me I didn't have any internet, so I had to go back in and stop everything, turn everything off, and then start over again, and wow, voila, I have internet again. Makes no sense to me. I think it, like I said, I think it does have something to do with that black box. And I tried again yesterday to attach my VPN, and it still won't allow me to do it. Oh yeah, for you guys that want to know, Microsoft Edge has a new update, and if you don't update, your programs aren't going to work. I mean, they're making it to where you don't have a choice but to upgrade it. And it doesn't cost anything, but it's ridiculous.
And then once you get that updated, they'll 6 months later or 3 months later, you'll have to update something else.
Oh yeah,
It's
'cause
just the way to do it.
yeah, the programs don't like working together. They have to get caught up, you know.
Right.
Hey Rod, how are you? And it's really bad if you're in the middle of something, all of a sudden it goes wacky, and then you find out you have an update. So I always disable my updates, and I go in and check on them, you know, usually once a week. But with this laptop, I haven't set any of that stuff up, so that's why we had problems earlier. It told me I couldn't get your number, remember?
Right.
And then I found out why, because it popped up and said that I wasn't connected to the internet.
That's just crazy.
I know. Oh, Tank's huge,
But,
Nelson.
my phone does the same thing. We just got new phones not 4 months ago,
Yeah.
and it wanted me to update just yesterday, and I'm thinking, really?
Stupid. Absolutely stupid. Hey, Matt, how are you? How's your feet? Well, foot. Well, feet. Well, foot. Yeah. How's your foot? Tankers. Hi, Ramona.
How did things go with Kevin's blood work today? Well, I know he won't get the results
No,
back,
he
but-
didn't get to go. They called him this time. In fact,
Really?
I'm glad they called him. Last time they waited until he showed up and said, "Oh, we changed it," you know. But this time they called him and told him that they don't want him there or at the hospital or any place else. They want him to stay at home.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, pizza. So I don't know what that's all about. You know, like I said, I watched Squatch in Alabama a little bit earlier, and I was so happy, you know, that he said it. And he's absolutely right. And like I told you guys last night, seriously, go online and look up the last 5 or 6 viruses, and you're going to find out some details that are going to shock you. This is ridiculous, the scare tactics. Anyways, I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about you, and I want to talk about your experiences. Hey, Jamie.
Okay. When I first started, I was invited to come to Brown Springs by DDoS. And the very first day, I went out with him and Tex. And I saw my first Bigfoot. That's all I can say about that. That was, I'm still, you know, almost 3 years later, I'm still in shock about that. I had always believed in Bigfoot ever since the Patterson Gimlin film, but I always thought that they were up in the Northwest, you know, and I'd never see one.
Yeah.
I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would see one so close to home. And then now that I've been in it for almost 3 years and found out how close they are to me here, it just boggles the mind that they're everywhere.
Yeah, I'm
They're
sure you're right.
Everywhere.
I'm sure you're right. What did it look like, the one you saw?
What I saw when we first went up, we went up on the cemeteries on a hill, and it's about maybe 100 yards or a little bit less from the parking lot, or what you would call a parking lot. It's just a grassy area to pull into, and you have to walk up this fairly steep hill to get to the where the cemetery is. And from what I understand, where the cemetery is used to be an old Indian burial ground. Now, I don't know if that's a fact, but everything that I've heard says that. So there's a lot of weird things that go on there.
Really?
But we got up to the top of the hill, and Dee and I were side by side, and Tex was up ahead of us about 50 yards or so.
Of course.
And all of a sudden, we get a rock thrown right behind us. And I heard the rock hit right behind Dee's feet. I mean, we were standing side by side, and we turned around and looked at each other and like, what in the world? And Tex was kind of off in a daze, and we had to holler at him to get him to come back. I don't know what that was about, but he was kind of off in his own little world, which was kind of strange. He just kind of wandered off ahead of us, you know.
Didn't Dee say that that he got zapped up there? Is that time or is it another time?
That may have been another time.
Okay.
I think he did get zapped, and I think it was the last time I was in Brown Springs with the BDRP.
Okay.
But and they came in a couple of days before I got there, and I think it was the first time that Tex had gone up there at night by himself to the cemetery.
Yeah, we won't discuss that
for a long time, you know. So he finally did it.
Yeah.
But after that, we turned around. We were right at the first headstone at the cemetery, and we turned around and we're facing back, kind of south, looking back towards the river. And I saw what looked to be like a stump beside this tree, and then it disappeared, and then it came back, and then it disappeared, and it did this 2 or 3, maybe 4 times.
Ooh.
And Dean was looking at it through the viewfinder on his camera.
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. And we were seeing the same thing, and I guess it was one on the ground that was peeking out from around the tree, and then it would hide back behind the tree. But it looked like a stump. It was just black, dark, you know.
Yeah.
And then it disappeared. We didn't see it anymore. And about that time, we heard what sounded like a 300-pound woodpecker. And later on, we kind of figured that may have been the alpha male beating his chest. I don't know.
Wow.
But it was very loud, and it sounded like it was coming from above.
Really?
But yes, it was really strange. That was a very strange day. Altogether, it was a strange day.
I didn't hear that.
Anyway, then it sounded like, to me, you know, if you're in a boat and you're tied up to 2 trees and the waves are making the trees rub together and it makes a squeaking sound.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like, but it was really loud. It sounded like 2 trees rubbing together. And I can't remember. I think we heard the woodpecker a second time, and then it went quiet. And we walked on down the hill, kind of east of the cemetery, away from the parking lot. And I walked down, and Dee and Tex were standing at the top of the hill, and we were standing at a fence line that was private property. And so I walked down the fence line, down the hill about maybe 40 yards from them, and I was just looking out in this property, and I saw this tree shaking back and forth, just violently shaking.
Ooh.
You know, probably 40 feet up.
Yeah.
So I just followed it down, and as I came down, where it was about maybe 8 or 9 feet off of the ground, I saw a head that was probably as wide as my shoulders.
Oh my gosh.
And all I could see was the head, because the bushes between me and this head were covering the body. All I saw was the head. And it had long, not real long, but it had spiky reddish brown hair. And at the
Spiky?
time, I was using a 35 millimeter camera. So I grabbed, and I had a telephoto lens on it. And I grabbed my camera and pulled it up, looked through the viewfinder, and it was gone, just that quick. And my chin was on the ground. I thought, I mean, I didn't even know. It was several minutes before I even said anything to D and Tex. I was in shock as what I just saw. I couldn't believe what I just saw.
I'll bet.
And so we went back down to the vehicles and drove down to where D's main research area was. And Tex had a weird feeling, so he backed in instead of pulling in. And we got out, and when we stepped into the woods, it had a really heavy, thick, hard to breathe feeling in the woods. It was almost like an old enchanted forest type of feel.
Wow.
That's the way and actually every time that I saw something when I was in Brown Springs, and I've been there several times, it was at a time when it had rained the night before and there was moisture in the air, there was moisture on the trees. And then other times when I went there and it was dry, no rain, we didn't see anything. So I kind of think that water has something to do with it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel that way, you know.
Yeah. I can totally understand that. Let me go back for a second. You said this thing had spiky hair?
Yes, it looked like spiky hair on top of its head. It was like on top, it was kind of sticking up and then sticking out around the sides. It wasn't laid down. So
yeah. Yeah, I know. I've actually seen that. So we've talked about that before. I've actually seen them with the spiky looking hair. I don't know what it is,
but it was hair. It wasn't fur.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's thick, and the hair you can see through it. You know.
Yeah.
Especially when it's spiky looking on top of the head. It was just, and you know it was cloudy, but the sun was shining on this head. I just happened to catch it at just the right time to see what I saw. And okay, and then we went into his the main research area, and I don't know, we went into about maybe close to 100 yards maybe, and there was a structure there that Dee had seen several times, and it was an upside down V of two big 8-inch, 10-inch trees that were stuck in the ground and leaned together in a V shape.
Yeah.
And it was all tore down.
Ooh.
And when we were walking behind him, and he came to a dead stop, just like he walked into a wall. And he said, "Whoa, we're not going any farther." And so we stopped right there, and we turned around and started to come back. And when we came back, I saw something brown running through the woods. So I started watching it, and I thought, "Oh my God, I'm fixing to see another Bigfoot." And it wasn't a Bigfoot; it was a deer that was running right at us. And this is like 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock. It was close to noon. So, I mean, normally deer aren't at a dead run at noon. You know, they're usually laid up or they're making their way to water or something.
Yeah.
But as soon as this deer saw us, it turned to its left, our right, and ran into a briar thicket. And we didn't see it anymore. And then we hear this big crash, like it ran into a tree is what it sounded like.
Oh my.
And then it didn't come out the other side. And I think that they got them a deer that morning.
Oh my. And you were there.
And we were right there, but we never saw the deer come back out.
Did you hear the deer bleep or anything? Did it make any noise?
No, not a sound.
Okay.
And it makes me wonder if they were using us to maneuver that deer towards. I think that one of them may have been running it, and one was waiting, and they used us to detour it right into the one that was waiting.
Wouldn't that be weird?
That's just my crazy theory on it, but that's the only thing I could figure out.
Hey,
Why,
Barry, don't think they're crazy theories. All of ours are crazy theories. Wow.
got some, I've got some that are off the wall, but um, that. And then I've been in there several other times. There was one day, in some of the pictures that I sent you, the one with the mama with the baby.
Yeah.
It looks like a little monkey.
The baby was cute.
We saw what D has got that video on the BDRP YouTube, and it's called The Weird White Face.
Okay.
And this thing looked like an alien face, really, to me. He was looking at it through the camera, but it was only maybe 30 yards from us, and this thing was smiling at us.
Ooh, what?
And the face would change, but it was just a face. We couldn't see the body. It was in a brush pile. And it was, what shows up on the video looks kind of gray, but from what we were looking at, it looked almost bright white. It just came out looking gray on the video. And we didn't go towards it or anything. We turned around and went back. His girlfriend was with us at the time, and she was in the truck. We never got very far from the truck. But as we were walking back, I happened to look down, and I saw the letter A made out of sticks laying on the ground. And it wasn't they were laid on top of each other. They were weaved together.
Oh.
It's like the left side of the A was on top of the right side of the A at the top, but the cross piece was underneath it, and it was on top of the other piece. It wasn't like it had fallen that way. It was placed that way. It was very distinct, the letter A.
Yeah, I have that letter A on my truck. The older truck, the black truck I had. I have a picture of that. That's exactly what they did. And they for some reason, that's what it looks like. I mean, it probably isn't an A, but to us it looks like an A. But mine had a couple of almost like fingerprints coming out. Like a sun ray around a sun. When people
Yes,
draw
yes.
it, the little spikes going out away from it. Well, that's what it was around this A. It had it was a perfect A, and then it had these lines going out, and I couldn't figure it. They did it that night that I had that audio, but that was kind of freaky. But I've seen that supposed A at a lot of places.
Yes, and I've seen the letter Y.
Yeah,
in
and the
several
Ys.
places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And I've seen them. I've actually seen it where they've tied down a bow with a Y, upside down.
yes.
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 Held it down that way.
I've seen them weave vines and make different things out of them, just hanging in a tree.
Yeah.
And it's most definitely weave. I mean, it looks like something a person would do. I've also seen where some small sticks, maybe 10 inches long, 6 or 8 of them, were laid side by side across 2 logs.
Oh, weird.
And to me, I think because there's so many juveniles in Brown Springs, or there were when I was going in there, I think that the babies were, either the adults or the juveniles were teaching the babies how to make these little different structures and things,
Jeez, I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, if you look at their intelligence, they've got to teach each other things. I mean, what else? We go to work every day. What do? They teach their kids what to do.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. That's that. I think that's why Glag was the way Glag was with Kevin, because he wasn't taught. But I've seen a lot of things up there on the property that you could tell was done by smaller, You know, it doesn't make any sense for a big one to do it. And I thought the same way. Remember I told you about the playground up there on that property? It looked like a
Yeah.
playground. There was stuff on the ground. There was little teeny teepee things, and there was, you know, X's and A's and Y's and bent over trees. I mean, there was a whole bunch of stuff. It looked like a playground. I mean, that's it. I'm probably
Right.
completely off my rocker thinking that way, but that's what I thought when I looked at it.
Well, you know, like it's been a year and a half ago. Dee and I went in to that same main research area with his daughter, and when we went in there, we found the trail in. You can either go in on a 4-wheeler or a pickup truck. If it's muddy, you'd have to have a 4-wheel drive, but it's the trail is wide enough to take a truck through there. And about, I guess it's about 100 yards in, there's a big tree right next to the trail. And when we walked in, there was another tree that was probably 20 feet tall that had been broken off. And this tree at the base where it was broken was about 8 inches in diameter.
Ooh.
And the base of it was shoved up in the fork of this tree that was beside the trail.
Ooh.
Another 10 feet forward, there was another tree shoved up into, on the left side. This was on the right side, and on the left side, there was another one shoved up into the fork of another tree. The trees that were broken off were still green and had their leaves on them. So it had just been done. It was in the middle of the summer. And you know how fast in the summer, Texas summer or Oklahoma summer, if you kill a tree, it don't take but a day for the leaves to turn brown.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So they had just done it. But the thing about it is, we never found the stump that they came from, and we never saw any drag marks. There were, you know, this tree was big enough that Dee and I, neither one of us could pick it up together. We couldn't pick it up.
Oh my goodness.
But those, and if we had been able to get it out of the fork of that tree, we would have had to drug it, and there'd have been drag marks. There'd been dead leaves drug everywhere. There was nothing. It was carried in.
Well, what else could it have been? I mean, it didn't come flying out of the sky.
No, and you know, and this was at a time when it had been several weeks before we had any bad weather. No storms, no tornadoes, you know, that could possibly cause that. And they were, and what in the world could break off a green tree like that other than a tornado or something, you know?
Yeah, a tornado could have possibly done it with no problem. That's what Belle and I were talking about last night. You know, she made the comment about her area where they have landslides, and I never even thought about that. But yeah, landslide would turn a tree root upside down, you know, and could leave it there, or a tornado could throw, you know, some pretty big branches deep into the ground. So you take all that into consideration, but when you have a whole area that is just looks like someone went in there and just decided to have an artistic moment, it's kind of freaky.
Not even that. When we walked off kind of to the east or to the left of the trail, and we had been in there several times, and you know, this is in a, you know, a floodplain area.
Yeah.
And there's logs washed up everywhere, you know, from the floods, you know, from the Red River.
Right.
But when we went in there, it looked like they rearranged the furniture. Everything that was there 6 weeks before had been moved. It was gone. It was completely gone. And I'm talking trees that were, 24, 36 inches in diameter, some of them. And they were completely gone. And we haven't had any rain in that 6-week time period. But, and it was just, the forest was cleared. They cleared stuff out.
I just had a mental picture that made me giggle. Sasquatch breaking off trees to do that, to body slam each other with. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you could imagine them using a tree for a weapon, right?
Well, you know, I'll send you a picture later, but Dee had taken a picture, I think, a week or two before I got there, and there's a silhouette of what he thinks is the alpha male in the background at the cemetery. So we took a comparison picture with me standing in about the same spot, and I'm 6 foot tall, and I'm standing on a log that's probably 12 inches in diameter. So that puts my head at about 7 foot. And I had a walking stick that I shoved it about 3 feet above my head. And when you compare those two pictures, the top of that walking stick barely comes to the middle of his chest.
What?
Yes.
No.
So I'll send you the pictures
No.
later.
No. No.
He's got to be at least 14 to 15 feet tall.
No, not in Brown Springs. No. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? What are they?
But see, I think it was the Biscardis that came in there and found a 24-inch footprint.
Oh my gosh.
That's massive. You know, that's like 2 of my feet.
We're all gonna die. I'm telling you,
And-
I don't know how on earth can these things be so big.
I don't know. I really don't know. You know, and Bob talks about him being 12 foot tall where he's at in Germany, you know.
Just freaky.
And maybe the males do get that big. I don't know. Maybe it's just the males that get that big, or certain males that get that big. Who knows?
Excuse me.
You know, all of this is speculation. You know, all of us talk about, it's all speculation because we really don't know absolutely for 100% sure of any. We don't even know that they're making the tree bins, you know?
Yeah, well, Barry, it's not. It definitely wasn't speculation that one that was at my push out was 10 foot, minimum 10 foot tall, because I had to put my head off the side of the bed and look straight up just to see his eyes. And when I realized that he towered over the push out, I didn't think the push out was that high, but we had to climb on a ladder to get to the top of that. So I can't. There's no way, that's not speculation. Of course I could say it's 11 foot 1 inches, but other than that,
part's not. You know, I'm just mainly talking structures. You know, we speculate. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's a Bigfoot structure." But it could be man-made. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that go out there and make blinds and structures and stuff. But there's just some oddities that I've found that I can't figure any possible natural way that they could happen.
Barry,
Yes.
you disappeared on me. Now you sound like you're in a tunnel.
Oh, well, it's probably my phone and the signal I get here.
You sound like you're a little teeny child in a cup.
Wow. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can do it.
He
Is that
shrunk. There you go. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Right. Well, I had it on speakerphone, and sometimes it goes crazy. So.
Sorry. I couldn't
No,
help it.
that's fine. I'm glad you told me because I would have just been talking on and nobody hear me.
No, they could hear you, but you sounded like you were in a cup.
Okay.
Hi, all you new people that came in. We have Barry Brown online with us, and we're talking about all kinds of stuff here, but and I'm sorry, I had to laugh. That was too funny. Hold on a second.
Okay.
You had a bad leg cramp, almost passed out. What, from the amount of pain, pizza?
Oh, wow. That's not good.
No, it's not. Yeah, Jamie said sounded like 2 cans in a string.
Yeah. Can you hear me good now?
Yeah, I can hear you really well now.
Okay. I switched it to my headphones, so.
Oh, good. It doesn't hurt now, but was in the bath. Pizza, are you overweight? Don't mean to be mean or nothing, just asking, dear. Are you overweight? Sorry, I know it's a personal. No, you're skinny. Do you ever have any circulation problems, hon? Or have you ever had pain in your lower legs before? Quiet, Tim. Okay. All right. Well, what you want to watch for, hon, pizza? Just so you know, what you want to watch for is that could have just been a sometimes nerves do things like that. But I would just pay attention if you have any pain in your bottom of your legs, get it checked out. There's something called PAD out there, peripheral artery disease, and sometimes it just pops up, and you might want to just get that checked out. But also sitting down, taking a bath, certain movements, you can get a twinge of something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That can happen. You can twinge something. You might have a disc out in the back or something like that that you're not even aware of, and it can. So don't panic or nothing like that. I'm not saying run to the doctor, but if you have it again, I would definitely get it checked out. Okay? Yeah. Well, it means you probably need some more magnesium, Chris. All right. So let's get back. I'm really drawn, as people know, to Brown Springs. I haven't been there yet, and I want to go down there. And I know once I move, I'm gonna have, Lord willing, and I'll have a little bit more time, and I plan on going down there at least once. I might hook up with Ramona or Mr. Doss and see what we can do about going down there. But I really want to go down there and check it out because I just have this, I don't know what it is, but I have this draw to Brown Springs. So I got to go at least once, at least once. But I want to go.
I plan on making another night trip out there.
Oh, really?
Sometime here in the spring. Yes, I do. The guy that I go researching now with, he went there with me last summer. Oh, this is a whole nother story.
Ooh, I can't wait.
When we went farther down than what Dee's main research area is. We went about 2 miles farther down the river, and it had flooded. So there were places we couldn't. There was some roads. There's just several roads that come off the main road that go down to the river. And people go down to camp or whatever, go fishing or whatever they do. But we went down this one, and we drove as far as we could and then we had to wade knee deep in water to get to, and we never did make it to the river. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But we came across this spot in the road, and it looked like, when you hit a bump and you got a bunch of stuff in your truck and everything flies out.
Yep.
That's what it looked like as we were walking in. There was a casserole dish and a phone charger and just a bunch of little stuff, that junk that people throw in the back of their truck. And it was just kind of weird, and we didn't really think that much about it. So we kept on walking, and we got into a spot where the road wide off, and it went down through a field straight, but then it turned off into the woods. So we walked out, turned, and went off into the woods, and about maybe 50 yards into the woods, we came across this abandoned camp. And it looked like the people had been there for a while. There were several, propane bottles laying around. There was a couple of towels hanging on a tree limb, a T-shirt hanging on a tree limb.
Oh my!
A bag of makeup was laid out on the ground, all thrown out on the ground.
Oh my!
There was a big tarp that was left there and a blanket. And we started looking around, and it's like, wow, these people left in a big hurry. And we started wondering why. Why would they leave in a hurry? And, where it was at, if a storm came up, you would see the storm coming before it got to you. It's pretty flat land.
Okay.
And have plenty of time to pack up and leave. You wouldn't be leaving all your stuff just scattered everywhere. And this friend of mine, he called it murder camp.
Ooh.
Whatever crazy reason. But then it kind of dawned on me, well, we saw this bunch of stuff out of the back of a pickup on the side of the road back, farther up the trail. Evidently, whoever it was leaving in a really big hurry, and they didn't care what they left behind. And we walked off into the woods over there, and man, it was dark. The canopy over the woods was really thick. You could see through the woods fairly easy, though it wasn't a lot of shrubs. It was mostly trees. But it was very dark and ominous looking there, the same way it was the first time I went into the main research area.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked off about 100 yards in there, ended up seeing a bobcat, and we saw, what might possibly be some structures. We weren't really sure, because I'm really critical about looking at things and just writing it off as natural, the weather doing it,
Right.
unless it really sticks out to me, I mean, it's because the weather can do a lot of damage in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we turned around and came back out of there, and then that's where, when we went back down to the main research area, and we walked from one road to another, which is like maybe a half a mile distance between the two. And then we came back, and when we came back, we found this little double teepee structure, and that's the last picture that I showed you. And we found footprints that were smaller than my foot, and they were barefoot because you could see the toes. And there were some that were just a little bit bigger than my foot. So it made me kind of wonder if maybe a juvenile was teaching a baby how to make teepee structures. I don't know. But I do know that structure wasn't there when we walked in, but it was there when we walked back out.
Yeah, I got that picture.
Well, I took some pictures of the footprints, but it was so muddy you really couldn't tell in the picture that it was a footprint.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah,
So,
yeah. The one I just got through taking, remember on the property, I tried to show the footprint and it looks like toes, but you can't.
right,
It's hard to tell, if you're there. I mean, it stood out to me where I actually, had to look at it twice and then look and said, oh my gosh, that looks like a footprint. And then I got closer to it and put my foot up next to it, and it was pretty darn big. And then I saw little teeny pieces where they're division of toes. So it's not like they ran there and their whole footprint went down. And that is a muddy area, and we did have a lot of rain. So did it wash it away, or was it better, or was I mistaken? And it's not actually a footprint; it was something else. But and I thought for a minute there that it could have been a cat print, but I didn't see any pads. There was, because that's what I look for in certain
right,
prints. I look for certain, key things that'll tell me, how big it is and kind of what it is. And I've been practicing with my tracking. I'm taking a lot more time now when I'm walking through the woods. I'm actually looking at little busted things and depression marks and trying to find
right.
different signs that way. But it's really hard when it comes to tracks because there's so many things that can step on each other and so many other animals out there that can
Yes,
double step, and
yes,
it makes it look so much bigger, right?
right.
So it's really hard to do. And I give people a lot of credit that find the good, decent prints that they're able to, go ahead and cast, because even when they're done, it might look like a big blob, but when you turn it over, I mean, if you can see the dermal ridges in it and you can see all that kind of stuff, I mean, I would love to see one just like that. Even the little one back behind the camper up on Sandy's was so tiny, it was so small you could barely tell.
Right. I've got some 35 millimeter pictures of there was 5 sets of footprints that Dee and I followed for over a mile down the river that were in the mud.
Really?
And when we first picked up these prints, there were some alligator footprints, and the alligator tracks were bigger than my open hand. It was huge.
Ouch. Oh my gosh.
But what was strange about the alligator tracks were they stopped about 3 feet from the water, and there was no tail drag mark or nothing. And then we picked up these 5 sets of what I'm going to call juvenile tracks because they were just a little bit longer than mine. They weren't real wide. And I thought, man, why would humans walk through the woods and through this? Because there's sticks on the ground everywhere, and it's rough terrain to get down to the river. Why would they just all of a sudden all 5 people go walking barefooted? But the thing about the tracks were the heel imprint was really deep, and the ball of the foot and the toes were really deep. There was no arch. The arch was flat across all the way, like it bent in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And the dermal ridges were nearly 1/8 of an inch deep.
Jeez.
And these things, they kind of walked off to the water, and there was a big, like a log laying kind of out on a sandbar, and they walked out to it, walked around it, and then they kept on walking down the river. And we just finally stopped following them. I mean, we were about wore out from the trip already, so we turned around and headed back through the woods. But the tracks kept going on and on around the bend. The river curved, so they were fresh tracks. Oh, and everywhere there was a footprint, it cracked the sand. And these prints were probably 1.5 inches deep, the heel and the ball of the foot and the toes. But we weren't putting a print that was maybe 1/4 of an inch deep.
Mm. Can you
And
imagine?
and we had heavy boots on.
Can you imagine what that had to weigh?
Oh yeah, it's just. I mean, I can't say for sure they were Bigfoot tracks, but everything that I could do to try to debunk that was going south. It was. I mean, I don't think they were human tracks at all. I really don't.
My imagination's going crazy because I'm picturing a Sasquatch picking up an alligator by its tail and flinging it around. You know, I mean,
Or slamming it, or grabbing it by the mouth and ripping its jaw apart.
yeah, anything. I've noticed there's
You
a.
know,
Go ahead.
but I think they got him an alligator that day. I really do, because the tracks just stopped. Like, I mean, I've watched alligators go in the water, and they leave a tail drag mark,
Yes, they do.
and there were none. It was all slick except for the footprints.
Why don't we ever find any blood when they tear up these animals?
I don't know. That's strange too.
Yeah, I would
I've
think
seen
that.
I've seen a picture where they've taken a deer and twisted it around the spine from just twisted its back legs and made a corkscrew out of it.
Yeah, I've seen those too. Or their heads, you know, twist their heads around and brush their back
Right.
legs. Yeah, I've seen that too. And then I saw, where was we were on Black Fork, and we found a skeleton for a deer, and the back legs were busted. Um, the longest bone was busted in half on the front and the back legs, and all of us thought that was kind of weird because it wasn't cut; they were broken.
They were broken.
Yeah.
Yes. And no teeth marks and no claw marks.
That's
So you
right.
know it's not a big cat or a bear.
Yeah, well, we saw on the bottom ones, we saw little teeth marks, which you can tell something was trying to gnaw on them. But the original way it was killed, you could tell by the front and the back. And that's the first time I'd never heard of them front and back legs, just the back. But both of them, front and back legs, were busted in half.
Wow.
So,
Well, you know, there was one day that Dee and I went in and we found this spot that all the leaves were cleared off in about a 10 by 12 foot area. And you could see butt prints in the dirt. But there were hundreds of muscadine grapes
ooh,
on the ground that had been mashed out. They mashed the fruit of the grape out and left the skin. There were no bite marks on them. There were no claw marks on them. You could see where they were definitely mashed. They had an indent in them.
oh wow,
And in the same spot, I found there's oak trees there that have these huge acorns that are as big as your fist. And I saw where one had been bitten off from the cap down, and it was a bite. It was teeth marks. I mean, not jagged teeth marks, like square teeth marks. Not like something with fangs had bitten it, but the bite radius was huge.
wow.
I mean, it was where it bit it off, and I mean, this acorn was probably 2 inches in diameter. It was huge, and it was bitten off square across.
I've never
I,
found any. I've never found anything, including some of the apples that I left off. I've never found anything that had a bite mark in it. You know what I'm saying? I've never, in any place I've ever gone yet, I've never found anything that actually had a bite mark. That apple that was thrown back at us looked like it had a fingernail imprint in it, but no bite marks. And I was wondering, because I always, a lot of times I thought that, other animals can get the stuff you gift out there if you gift apples. The horses
right.
can come up there and eat them, or the deer can eat them, or lots of stuff can eat them. But I was waiting for maybe something to take a bite out. The only thing they've ever taken a bite out of was that plastic flute I left up there, and then I freaked out. All I could see was a baby biting it and trying to swallow it. But I took that immediately and said, no, 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 don't eat that, don't eat that. And like they really
What color?
understood.
What color was that flute?
Yellow.
Okay. No, I've
They like blue. They
I
like
came to the
blue.
conclusion they like the color blue.
Yeah, they like blue.
For some crazy reason, they like blue.
Well, remember I told you they took the blue marbles, especially the shooter. They took and it was blue. They like blue, for some reason. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
I don't know why. Freaky, huh?
it is.
All right. So have you ever had a really, what was your closest face to face or closest encounter?
I guess that weird white face was the closest that I've had that I know of. I mean, I've got pictures of some that I walked right by and didn't see them, but they were in the video or they were in the picture.
Yeah,
Uh,
you sent me some of those pictures, and yeah,
that's when I'm going through the woods, most of the time I'm watching the ground, and I'll occasionally, I mean, I'll look up too, and I've gotten to where I look up in the trees more now, just because of what I've seen and heard from other people.
hmm
But I think a lot of times uh, they blend in so well with things, especially when the woods, the canopy over the woods, and it makes it look almost like nighttime
Oh yeah.
when you're in the woods, and everything is dark shadows. You see
hmm
shadows everywhere,
hmm
and they know how to use those shadows to their advantage.
I think so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think they know what we can see and what we can't see.
You do?
Yes, I think they do.
I don't see now. I don't think they realize that we can't see them in the dark.
Now that may be true, but I think like in the daytime, um, because people can get them on camera with like a GoPro on their backpack,
hmm
but if they turn around, they disappear. So they know if we're looking in their direction. I think, that much I do believe, and I've seen people that have zoomed in on one from maybe 100 yards away, and they're looking right at them. So I think that they can see 100 yards away like we can see through binoculars.
Yeah.
But their eyes are so big, their pupils are so big, just like any other nocturnal animal. I mean, you look at a deer; they've got bigger eyes than other animals, and
And owls too.
yes, owls too, and uh, the the bigger their pupil, the more it lets light in, so it lets them see much easier in the dark.
I want big pupils so I can see in the dark.
Yeah, no doubt.
Martha wants to know what your scariest encounter was.
I don't really think I've had a scary encounter. I have never ever been felt threatened. Of course, I've never had a bluff charge either. You know, that might change things a whole lot. That'd
Yeah.
change the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the most unnerving feeling on the planet. because you can't see it coming. You can hear it, but you can't see it. You can almost guess what direction, but you still can't see it. The closer it gets and the louder it gets, and the more you actually feel the ground moving because it's heading right towards you, and you don't know what to do. There's no place to run, no place to hide, and then all of a
Right.
sudden it
Well,
stops dead in its tracks, and your brain is still on charge mode, and so you're
yes,
electrified.
yes, yes. Well, your brain's still trying to comprehend what you're seeing.
Well, you're not seeing anything. That's the bad part.
Well, that too.
You're not
Uh,
seeing anything.
Ooh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
But no, I've never had a bad encounter. Uh, I do know that they've been really close. The last time that I was in Brown Springs with the BDRP, we went in with Chuck Slabs' group, and that night, I guess it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, we heard a disturbance behind the campfire. We were just sitting around the campfire talking, and it was really funny because if you walk 20 feet one side of the campfire, you could hear all kinds of bugs, crickets, mosquitoes. You get on the other side of the campfire and it was dead quiet. I mean, you could hear a pin drop.
Ooh.
And we heard some kind of something was behind us. So we got up, and one of the guys had I think it was a FLIR camera. It was a small one, and we could see what looked to be a juvenile and I can't remember if it was infrared or if it was FLIR. But either way, we could see a shape, and D and another guy walked towards it, and we stood there and watched them on that camera, and they got within 10 feet of it and couldn't see it.
Really?
And then it just kind of backed up a little bit and went over the hill and disappeared.
Do you know what my favorite FLIR video is? The one with when it crawled up to the pile and took the candy bar.
Snickers bar.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes,
my favorite
that's a
video.
cool one.
Because
That's
you can see the fingers rolling like it was just sitting there watching. Have you seen a DM in Brown Springs? Ramona wants to know.
Yes,
You saw one?
yes, I did.
Ew, yuck. Okay, so all right, so
And
let's hear it.
And I've got that on about 7 seconds of video, and I was videoing. We parked the truck and got out, and I started videoing, and I panned down the trail, and I got to an open spot, and this thing with a huge head and pointed ears, and when it turned, I could tell it had a snout, stood up and walked off. And as it stood up and walked off, I accidentally hit the stop button on my video camera, but I could still see it. It was just stopped recording. And I watched this thing walk off, and it was at least 7 or 8 feet tall. And you can ask Bob. I sent this footage to Bob, and he went over it frame by frame with me, and we saw all kinds of crazy stuff in the video.
Well, Matt said he wants to see that picture.
There was tell him I'll have to tell him to DM me, and I can send him a picture. That's the only way I know how to send him a picture.
Okay, you're on Messenger, Matt.
Actually, I'm on Messenger. Yeah,
Yeah,
under Barry Brown.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Matt, if you look him up,
Which Matt is it?
Matt Niven.
I may be friends with Matt Niven on Facebook. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, if you guys can hook up on Messenger.
Yeah, we can hook up. We can hook up on Facebook, and I can send him a picture. It's very, very short, and it's really hard to see because it's bouncing around. And I was in total shock. I was like, "Oh my, you know what?"
Yeah, goodness.
And to this day, I'm still in shock. D didn't see it because it was on the camera, and I immediately handed it to him. I said, "D, look at this. Look at what I'm looking at." And by the time I gave it to him, it had already walked off in the woods. But where it stood up was almost the exact same place that we had our campfire the last night I was in there with them.
Really? Hey,
So
Jared.
and it was right there. I mean, maybe 50 yards from the entrance to where we, from the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And from what Bob went over in the video, it looked to be like there was another Bigfoot standing or squatted beside the tree, and possibly another dog man standing behind him.
Really?
So they do interact.
Huh. No, I don't think so. I don't want
I
to.
don't know. I don't know at what degree. And but then I've had other people tell me that are, and I don't like to get off into that subject, and you know which one I'm talking about, but he said they can make you see what you want to see. But the thing I wonder about that is I wasn't thinking about a dog man that day, not at all. I didn't even have it in my mind.
Oh,
So
you said the word. You said the word. DM, DM, DM. I don't. What is it? Mutt face?
I don't even like that word.
I don't either. Mutt face. We're gonna call them mutt faces. Mutt face.
But I do have a friend he says he's got a picture of one that looks like a beagle.
A what?
A beagle.
A beagle?
Yes.
That's freaky. That's just downright freaky. Probably a baby. Hey, Jared, don't go anywhere. I need to talk to you for a second, please. A beagle.
But, yes. It beats me. I mean, that's just what I've been told. I haven't seen the picture. So
Nobody says, let's call them Cheetos.
We'll just call him Chester for Chester Cheetah.
Yeah, Chester. Let's call him Chester. Oh, that's too funny. Oh, my goodness.
But,
wow.
Yeah, and, and up until the other day, that picture I showed you, that's what I thought that was, until you showed me another way of looking at it.
Yeah, when I opened it up, you could clearly see its head turned. That's why, and I think the front part was just a anomaly in the photograph.
But, I think it's the same way that Bill was talking about. When you get something in your head, just like she was talking about the army, the people that went in and saw the army guy that didn't have a gun and they thought he had a gun.
Right.
When you get a certain idea in your mind, your brain puts those pixels together, and that's what you see.
Aren't we strange?
And that's that's what pareidolia is, though. Really, I mean, you take three people and you have a cloud. One person thinks it looks like a bunny, and one person thinks it looks like, the MGM line, and one person will think it looks like a greyhound or something, So each one of us have a different perception of what we see in pictures like that, and in shadowy areas we see things that may or may not be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I try very hard to discount some of the stuff when my eyes are trying to adjust to the dark. And if I'm in complete darkness, so dark that you can't see your hand in front of your face, or a foot in front of your face, I close my eyes anyway and rely on my hearing. I don't keep my eyes open. I keep them closed because that, to me, because I do have acute hearing. So what I do is I'll close my eyes and I'll just stand there, and that way I can hear stuff because I'll never be able to see it ever.
Right.
Unless it puts its hand in front of my face. I mean, even at that, I remember one night in Honaby lighting my cigarette, and my eyes just about went crazy. After that, I saw shadows everywhere, and I knew it was just from that flicker of that light.
I do a lot more night investigations these days, and I use either a red headlamp or a green headlamp.
Yeah, I like the green ones. They don't seem to bother them.
I've got both on mine, and then I've got a good spotlight on it too, but I use mostly the green or the red.
Yeah, have you ever had one look right at the green light?
It doesn't seem to hurt my eyes as bad, I know I can seem to see a little better with the red, but in everybody, it's in the individual people to everybody as to how they see with different light spectrums,
Yeah. Have you ever had one look right at the green light?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. But they
And
turn away from the red ones and they turn away from the white ones, but they seem to look right at the green ones. That's why I started using the green ones. But I've had
um,
them actually turn their heads with my husband shining the flashlight. And then Sandy had the one that has the red, the green, and the white on her headlamp, and she hit the red one, and the whole eye shine just disappeared completely. And so when we turned the green one on, close to the same area, not the exact same area, but we turned the green one on, they just stood there right there looking at us, you know. So they didn't have a problem with the green light. They had a problem with the red one, and they had a problem with the white one.
and see, the last time I went out was, and I live, if anybody knows where Lake Fork is in Texas, I live within 2 miles of that. It's, I'm about 80 miles due east of Dallas.
Oh, cool.
So I'm kind of in the country, but, I mean, in the Mineola Nature Preserve, it's like 24,000 acres, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're real close to some good squatchy areas.
Yes, it's right along the Sabine River, and a lot of the investigations I do have been on the Sabine River.
Ooh,
Uh,
fun.
it's the last time I went out, I actually got to hear a beaver slap its tail for the first time this last time we went out.
Really?
Yes, and that's the first time I'd ever heard that, and it sounds like a gunshot going off.
Wow.
And it did it twice while we were there. And I thought there were hunters in there. The night we went in, there were maybe coon hunting or something, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
He said, the guy that I was with, he said, "Oh, that's just a beaver." I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." We
Learn some.
went, we went a little over a mile at a place he calls the Dead Pools, and it's just these two ponds that never dry up. I guess they're spring fed. And he's been fishing there since he was a little kid, and had numerous encounters there all his life. And he's like 46 years old now. The night we went in there, we just made a campfire. We're sitting around the campfire, and just out of the blue, he gave out a Bigfoot yell, which we don't ever do that, but he just did it for whatever reason. And it wasn't 2 minutes later, we hear a tree knock, and then a tree get pushed down, and a whoop. Not 2 minutes after he did that.
Ooh.
And then later on, and we had something walking around real close, but we never could see anything. We saw some possums. We saw a skunk that night, and we didn't see any deer, and we didn't even see any hogs that night. We had a lot of tracks, deer tracks and hog tracks, but we didn't see any. We've got a lot of hogs, and all around this area is full of hogs.
Oh, here too. Everywhere's full of
That's,
hogs. Why don't the sassy eat the hogs? I mean, my goodness, they're overpopulating the world.
I don't doubt that I bet they do. Because the deer around here, I mean, there's a lot of deer, but it's really not overpopulated.
Yeah.
Especially not this year, for sure. I would be willing to bet that they do utilize the hogs from time to time.
Well, I wish they'd do it more often. Those things are a pain in my side, I'll tell you. I found fresh tracks today when we went there, hog, and I was like, dang it.
Most of the people around here just shoot them and let them lay.
Really? I think
Yeah.
I think I might do that too. I don't think it would bother me except for all the bears that are up there.
I would in the summertime. And see, we don't have bears around here, but they are coming into our area. What was it, 4 years ago? About 15 miles from me, a lady ran over a black bear cub. But when they reintroduced them to the Kiamichi Wilderness, they started migrating back down here, and they had one spotted close to Jefferson, Texas, which is far east Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And heard that there were some in Mineola Nature Preserve, but I haven't found any evidence of them yet. You know, and I've been in there by myself for hours and hours. You know, and I don't carry a gun. I just carry a Rambo knife.
Rambo knife.
But
That's cute.
And I don't have any problem. You know, everybody hollers about, well, hogs will get you. Hogs, no. If you pay attention to what you're doing, you got to worry about the hogs. The only time I've ever seen people being attacked by hogs was when they were hunting them and pin them. You corner them, and yeah, they're going to get a little bit vicious, but hogs don't hunt people. They're basically trash eaters and herbivores, you know.
Yeah. Well, they do. They are pretty destructive, and if the kid,
They,
and I would,
they can be dangerous if if you get close to a mama with babies. Yeah, you might want to be climbing up in a tree, but I have never ever had a problem, and I've been really close to them. Even in Brown Springs, I had 3 hogs walk within 10 feet of.
well, I think that they're destructive, and I don't want my grandkids around them, and I don't trust them.
Oh, no.
Hello?
Now
Oh, you went
if
away.
they get you, there was a woman that was killed by some hogs in her driveway here just this last fall.
That's what I'm saying.
But but they could have been in a corner type situation. If they were inside somebody's fenced in yard, yeah, they're looking to get out, and they're going to run right through you.
Yeah, I can't stand them, except for to eat.
I can't either.
Does anybody have any questions for Barry? Anything you guys want to know that he has done or seen or?
Oh, another thing that I have seen in Mineola Nature Preserve, there's and I'm not sure what kind of trees it is, but they've got small limbs, probably 1-inch limbs from the ground all the way up, all the way around the tree. And in this one area, I have found where from about 8 foot up, all of those limbs have been stripped down and they're leaned up against the base of the tree.
Weird.
And there's trees just like them within 20 feet, 10 feet. The limbs are still on them.
That is
There's
weird.
like 4 or 5 trees. It's like something has climbed up those trees and stripped those limbs off.
Oh my.
And last summer, I went out with a group of guys, and we split up into like 3 groups, 4 and 5 man groups, and something big jumped out of a big tree. And when we went and looked, we found a baby footprint, barefoot footprint.
Wow, it's cool.
And that one picture that I showed you where the limbs are all pushed back, we took that picture at night. I went back the next day, and I walked down the trail, and I went probably 150, 200 yards past where this, I'm going to call it a structure for lack of a better word, just where there were little saplings and the tops of them were pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
Like something big had to walk through there. And they were bent over at about the 8 to 10 foot height. And anyway, I went down and turned around and came back. And as I was coming back, I was hearing footsteps kind of shadowing me. And so I started testing it, and I'd walk a few steps and just stop all of a sudden. And I'd hear another step or two. And then I'd do it again, and then I'd hear another step or two. And it was like a heavy thud. And it's pretty grown up through there, so you really can't, you can't see through the brush.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got back around to that structure, I got a loud, just a huffing sound, and it rattled my chest. It was very deep and a lot of volume.
Where was that?
and that was in Mineola Nature Preserve.
Wow. Have you ever heard them talk?
No, I have not. Oh, but I have. Uh, Coonbo's crew went to Brown Springs with us one time, and like I said, I've been in Brown Springs several times. And then after the BDRP, I've been in there once since then, and I want to go back again. You know, but everybody left but three of his crew. Valerie Geese was one of them. And I can't remember the other two guys' names, but anyway, we heard the fake owl sound about an hour before dusk,
Mm-hmm.
which that's kind of unusual for owls to be hooting at that time. And besides that, it didn't have the trill at the end. It was just a hoo hoo, and you could almost hear the sound going over their lips. So Dee used to whistle the song to My Three Sons when he went in there. And one time he went in there with a guy from Colorado, Yeti Spook, I think. And as soon as they got in the woods, these things whistled My Three Sons song to him before he did anything.
Yeah, I've heard him say that.
Okay, well, the evening that we were in there, we were about ready to leave. So Dee did just a little 3 or 4 note whistle, and we got it right back to us. So he did it again, and a few minutes later, we got it right back to us again, but it was a whole lot closer, like really close. And it was getting darker. It was almost dark enough you'd start tripping over logs if you weren't careful. And we didn't have any lights with us. We went in there in the daytime and stayed till nearly dark. But we decided it was probably a good time to leave.
Oh, I guess so. What about mind speak? Do you believe in mind speak?
Yes, I do. I have never experienced it, but I wouldn't bother me if I did.
Oh, I think it'd bother me.
I mean, since my first encounter when I was with Dee, and several months after that, I stayed awake at night thinking about what I saw that day.
I'm sure.
And I still to this day would love to be able to communicate with them at some point or another, in some way or another. Not necessarily sit down and have a cup of coffee with them, but either gifting them, different sticks, or make some type of glyph and see what they do with it, or even have them chatter, either way, or even talk to me like Mike Patterson's Nefertia does. But
yeah, I think that Kevin is seriously blessed with Glag. I mean, I know it still tears him up to this day, and it doesn't matter when. He could be on a roller coaster ride just laughing his brains out, and you bring up Glag, and that boy's eyes rim with tears, and he just gets choked up. It's really hard for him to talk about Glag because the bond was so strong, and I can't even imagine.
His bond with him was so strong that it was almost like family,
Right.
So.
Right.
But there's just so many people that that I have watched their videos, looked at their pictures, and talked to them online, talked to them in person, that have had really good encounters, and very intelligent type encounters.
Yeah. What would you like to see happen with this whole topic? What would you like the outcome to be?
What would I like the outcome to be?
Mm-hmm.
I really have a lot of things that I would like the outcome to be. For one, I would like for our government to admit it. Just go ahead and admit it. Uh, why not? They've already admitted UFOs, so why not? You know.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, they just recently come out with the Tic Tac videos, but those were taken in 1997, and they're just now coming out with it.
Right.
So, I would like that, but I really don't like the idea of people going in hunting them at all. I mean, that's just as bad as what we did to First Nations people.
Right. Exactly.
And I really, I truly believe in what the First Nations say about the Bigfoot and their folklore and their legends. They didn't have books to write things down. They had to pass it down from generation to generation. So along the years, they probably lost a lot of what they knew about them, except for certain ones. Certain elders probably still know, but even those elders are up in the age to where they're not going to be here too much longer.
Yeah.
I would very much like to see. We don't have to protect them. They've done a dang good job of doing it themselves for who knows how many years.
Yeah. Exactly. What
And
difference? Yeah.
maybe I don't know if you read that article that I sent you from Mike Patterson, where he left a question, and they wrote some answers, and the answers were pretty phenomenal.
When did you send me? When did you send me that?
I thought I sent it to you the other day. It was
No.
the other day when me and you and Bob were talking on that
Oh.
private chat.
Yeah. No. I didn't get that.
I'll have to send it to you again. He asked them some questions about this virus, and they know. And at one point they said, "So, what do you think they want to do with this?" And he said, "Same as us." And he's thinking that they're wanting to kill us off the same as them. So I don't know. There's just a lot of far-fetched stuff. People can believe it if they want. I mean, it's up to each individual person. I have my own thoughts on things, and just like the fuzzy pictures. And like 2 years ago, I did a little bit of research on frequencies, and I think that has a whole lot to do with it. And it involves quantum theory and quantum mechanics. There's still a lot to be learned about that.
Yeah.
It's anything quantum is extremely complicated. It's
over my head.
it's nothing that you can sit down and learn in a day or a week or a month or a year. It's something that you would have to study for years and years to truly understand what quantum physics and quantum theory really mean.
Except for that 9-year-old boy in college who blew past.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Good grief.
Is that the same little boy that talked about the split in the timeline at 2012?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I know. He's extremely smart. Wow.
Jeez, that boy's. Oh my goodness, he's wicked smart.
Yes.
And only smart to certain things. Other things he has no clue. Of course, it probably has to do with his age, but wow, he just blew me away with his knowledge.
Yes.
And how fast he picks up on stuff. He just knows things.
And how easily he explains it.
Yeah, exactly. Craziness.
That's just crazy. But yes, but see, what I found out about frequencies, everything has a frequency.
Mm-hmm.
The chair you're sitting in, the grass in the yard, the trees, that's how we see what we see, is because it's vibrating at a certain frequency that lets us see it as what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We see a certain spectrum of light frequency. If it's too bright, we don't see it. If it's too dark, we don't see it, and we see things in between. and every person's range of frequency is a little bit different. Some people can see a little better in the dark than others. Some people can see a little bit better in bright light than others. And then you have sound frequency. And sound frequency can go to what they call infrasound, which is very low. Same thing elephants do, same thing tigers do, even whales do that. And then they can go extremely high to a point like where dogs can hear above what we can hear. So if there's a manipulation of either the sound or the light that goes beyond our frequency range, then maybe that's why we see it as being fuzzy, or people call it being cloaked, or, you know.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
So, I mean, that's just my understanding of it, and that's just a very small amount of what I understand. I try to apply that to a lot of the things that I see, either on pictures, videos, or in person, when I'm in the woods.
One of the reasons why I like people coming
And-
on, different people coming on, because they have different opinions, and we hear different things, learn different things.
Another idea that I had a couple of years ago, anyway, there's, I lost my train of thought now.
As someone,
Okay. As far as videos or even pictures, and I've discussed this with Bob at length for many hours, but what if these things are a second ahead or a second behind or a millisecond ahead or a millisecond behind to a point that we don't see them because of time and space? They're still there, but they're either ahead of us or behind us, so we don't see them. Does that make sense to you?
yeah.
But the camera picks it up because it's picking up multiple pictures in that millisecond or half a second or whatever difference it is in time and space between us and them. So that's why they come out on pictures, and you can be looking right at it and not see it, but then when you go back and look at the picture, it's right there in plain sight. That's just a thought that I've had.
I like thoughts. Go ahead.
I may be off in left field, but it kind of fits.
Join the club. That's fine. We have another question for you. Do you think that they are growing in numbers
Yes, I do.
exponentially?
Exponentially.
Yep,
yes.
me too. I do too.
I talked to Coonbo when he came down, and actually he called me after we went out with him. He called me at home one day, and we talked for 2 or 3 hours. But he told me that the consensus is that there's roughly 50,000 of them here in the United States, and he says that he thinks that there's more than 100,000 of them here in the United States and growing. But you see, like the 5 juvenile tracks that we found in Brown Springs, and Dee said that he believes there's at least 16 of them in there. If half of those are juveniles, then that means they're building their population up.
Mm-hmm.
That's just in that one spot.
Right.
I've got at least 4 spots close to me where I've got different clans. Within 20 miles of me right here. So, yeah, I think that's possible.
And so, do you think that that's why the Cheetos or Mutt Faces are hanging out with the Sassies?
I think, and I've heard this from other people, I think it's very possible that they're the Watchers.
Yeah.
And they are like our watchdogs. They may be a little more stealthy and more easily accepted because they have if they're on all fours, they're going to look like a dog. If they're in the weeds, people see a dog head, they don't think nothing about it. Oh, that's just a wolf, or that's a coyote or something. It makes it easier for them to be a little more out in the open and watch things.
Right.
And I've also, what is that lady's name? Carter. Her last name's Carter.
Yeah, Carter.
Blonde-headed lady.
Yeah.
When
Janet.
she went up to that area up north in the Northeast, I can't remember what state she was in, where the people had knocked out. They had dug into a tank dam or a pond dam,
Mm-hmm.
and found what they thought was a cave, which actually was a Bigfoot den.
Okay.
And took out some artifacts and put in their house, and the Bigfoot were slapping their house and beating on the walls and everything else. She came in there and told them, "Oh, well, you need to put those artifacts back, and they'll leave you alone." They did. Well, she said that she saw a DM with a baby Bigfoot,
Oh,
and it made her believe that maybe they were the babysitters for the babies.
that's freaky.
But, and another thing too, Dee has a picture somewhere that he took in the nest that has a baby Bigfoot and a baby DM in the same nest.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So, yeah, I believe that. I believe that they interact, and they may use each other for whatever reason, maybe to gather food, maybe to herd different animals to a kill zone. Yeah, I think they interact. I really do.
Yeah. Jared wants you to text him tomorrow.
I will. He sent me a message. I'll send him a text.
Okay.
Hey, Jared. Yeah, I've been researching with Jared a couple of times too. I just back a year and a half ago, whenever it was, I kind of went independent and been doing a lot of because I mean Brown Springs is 2 hours away from my house, and when I can go 15 minutes down the road and go researching, why not do that,
Yeah, exactly.
I did talk to a guy that he lives about 5 miles from me. He's got 20 acres of property, and he had a deer stand on it. And he said him and his wife were taking some sacks of corn down to the deer feeder. And a Bigfoot stood up from behind some bushes and screamed at him.
Oh.
Okay, and they dropped the corn and ran to the house. Well, on the way to the house, his wife got clotheslined by a Bigfoot, and it knocked her out.
Oh my gosh.
He gets back to the house and turns around, and she's not there. So he goes, and this guy told me. This is not hearsay. This guy told me this story of what happened to him and his wife. He said he went back down there, and she's knocked out on the ground. And he gets her up, and she said she was running, and a big black hairy arm stuck out in front of her, and she ran into it. And it knocked her on the ground and knocked her out.
Oh my gosh.
So, that's coming from the horse's mouth, but, I take everybody's stories with a grain of salt, and I hope everybody takes my stories with a grain of salt. If you're not there, you really don't know. That's all I can say to the non-believers. You don't have to believe. I went from a believer to a knower within the first 30 minutes. I went to Brown Springs. But I was lucky. There's people that go in the woods for 40 years and never see anything.
Exactly.
That comes to another thing. I do believe that they allow certain people to see them.
Yeah,
For
I do.
whatever reason.
I
I truly believe that, because there's been so many times that people have been in a group. One person in the group will see something and nobody else will. Now, why is that?
Yeah. Yeah, I've said that
You
too.
know, I just, like I said, you know, I've seen things that have just totally boggled my mind to a point where I don't know what not to believe anymore.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Uh, all this far out stuff may not be so far out after all. You know, I don't discredit anybody for saying what they've seen because, man, oh man, I've seen some stuff that I never thought, you know, we grew up thinking monsters didn't exist, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
Well,
very, very true.
Who started that lie long ago, you know? And why, and why did they start that?
Who started all the lies? I mean, you just don't know. Someone did. Only took one person.
Right. Oh, I did get to go to Hanabi one time. I said it right that time. We're pretty close.
No, Honubby.
Hanabi. Okay, I got it.
There you
I'll try to get it
go.
right. But I went out with a guy named Bill Lockett, and we went out. Like I told you, we went just a mile from the store. You know, right there by where they have the convention every year,
Right.
or the conference. The conference. Not a half a mile down the road.
Yeah.
We turned on this logging road. There's a big house right across the street. We drove about maybe 50 yards up this logging road and stopped. And I got out because after I got there, I hadn't called my wife, and I finally got a signal, so I called her. And Bill walked down the trail, and he started hollering, "Barry, Barry, come here!" And I walked down, and sure enough, and this was in the shale. We weren't making footprints, you know, it's crushed shale.
Yeah.
Um, but this print was at least a quarter of an inch deep, and it was 20 inches long and 8 inches wide.
Ooh.
So we went up in the woods and kind of went up. We were having to hold on to trees to climb up this hill, you know, or the mountain, if you want to call it that. And when we came back down, we were about a half a mile farther down the logging road. And the logging road hadn't been used in years. But as we were walking back, we found more sets of footprints, and it was a smaller one that was about probably 18 inches, 17, 18 inches, and then one that was about probably 10 inches. So I think it was a male and a female and a juvenile that were walking down that path.
Yeah, you get a lot of prints in Honubby, and they that's something that Jared just said too. I found out that like the prints that I was seeing in the northern part of Oklahoma or in Arkansas here compared to the ones I've seen in the Honubby area, they seem to be wider, much wider than the ones up here even. So I don't know what that means, but I just know that even on the property, the one I was looking at, it was pretty wide, but a little bit more narrow at the top and the back than the ones I've seen in Honubby. That one big
Well,
print that I saw in Honubby was so wide, you know, I mean, it was really, really wide. So that, to me, I don't know if that means that they're heavier or, you know, they're swaying back and forth or something. I don't know what that means.
or a different type altogether.
Yeah, that too. Could be that too.
Well, okay. Now, over here close to the Mineola Nature Preserve, uh, somebody that I had been researching with took a picture, and I've got the picture, which I don't give out any pictures that people don't give me permission to give out.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have one that's of a huge X that's down in a creek, and these logs that are shaped in an X, and it could have been done naturally, I don't know, but what this person got in the picture was there's two faces. One of them, and these faces, the logs are probably 18 inches in diameter. These faces are as big as the logs.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, but she had somebody zoom in on them and bring them out a lot clearer.
Mm-hmm.
They resemble the face of a lemur.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. I never heard that either.
That was I'll send you that picture if you'll just keep it to yourself. But
Oh, I
that
will.
is just really crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, I, I mean, that's what it looks like to me. It might look like something completely different to somebody else. But from what the pictures that the things I've seen in Brown Springs, it looks completely different.
Yeah, they have a tendency. I mean, I haven't heard
But
too many people say they look identical to each other anyway.
well, okay, look at humans for example. You look at people that are European compared to Chinese compared to Australian. Everybody's facial features look different depending on what part of the world they come from. Even different parts of our country,
Hmm.
people look different. Some people have long noses. Some people have uh, short, skinny noses. Or some people have short, fat noses. Some people have long, fat noses. I mean, it's just a big range, and even different people's hair. Look at how many different kinds of hair people have.
Yeah.
You know, so that could very well explain why you see different. It may not be different types. It just be different. I don't know if you could call it cultures or what, but just a slightly different genome of some.
Yeah, and if they're out there
I don't know.
hanging out with the DMs, I can just imagine the offspring. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
They're
yeah, if they're interbreeding, yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Who knows?
But I mean, that one picture that I've got, which I call it the Jeepers Creepers dude, because it's kind of
It
looks
is
like a green
creepy.
face. But but if you look really close, it has a very Native American looking nose,
Yeah,
and looks like maybe high cheekbones.
yeah. I've seen
But
it.
then again, in the area, that could be us. Well, I don't even want to say that word either.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of pictures.
An, an SW, if you know what I mean by that.
No, I don't. But I've seen a lot of pictures of Sasquatch that look Native American to me. You know, and they showed the picture. If you blow it up, they look Native American, which is why I'm sure some people, and there are some people that say that they look either like Neanderthal or ape or something in between or just something completely different. The ones
Right,
Down
right.
syndrome or other kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of different looking ones. I don't think there's
Well,
just
like the one I saw looked to have more of a rounded head than a conical head.
right. Mine too.
You know,
Mine
so
too.
I go figure. It's another thing that we when we were when we were in Brown Springs doing the night of it, and it actually was my first night investigation. Um, we heard out in the field what sounded like a witch laughing.
A what?
It sounded like a witch laughing,
Ew.
and me and another guy went, and I think it was John Vandeventer, if you know who he is.
Yeah.
He lives close to you, I think. Um, we got in his truck and went down the road, and this is a White Rock road. We went a mile one way and turned around and come back a mile the other way, and it was dry. And you know how White Rock roads are. If a car is driving down the road, it blows dust and it lingers in the air for a good while.
Yep.
There was no dust in the air. So whatever it was in that field, and it's probably 100-yard wide field, and it goes the whole length of the road going down the Brown Springs Road.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever it was sounded exactly like a witch. But the SW I was talking about is Walker's
Oh, okay.
SK.
Okay, got it.
And I would not doubt that green face that I got is one of them, because it looks more human than the ones that I've seen in Brown Springs. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Nobody
don't.
knows.
I just don't. I don't know, and I don't think I want to know. If it's that, I really don't want to know.
I don't think I'd want to know either. You know, there are some things that you should know. You know, I mean, if you're going to go out there, there's some things you
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
should know. But
definitely so. But I look at it this way, uh, and a lot of people don't want to go in the woods without a weapon. You know, I don't. Uh, And I look at it this way. My mom used to tell me when I had a motorcycle, "You're going to get killed on that motorcycle." And I told her, I said, "Look, Mom, when God says it's time for me to go, it won't matter whether I'm on that motorcycle or sitting in my recliner. That's when my time is. And if something bad is supposed to happen to me in the woods, it won't matter whether I have a gun or not." If that makes any sense to you.
it doesn't, because that doesn't mean go jump off a bridge either.
Well, no, no,
Well, there are
that's
dumb
true
things
too.
to do. If you know there's bears out in the
Well,
woods and cougars, you don't go out there.
well, I don't go too much in bear territory.
Yeah,
I've
well,
only been, and the only time I've been in what you might consider bear territory is when I went to Hanabi and spent one night there. But that night we had something walking around in the woods that was breaking sticks every time it took a step, and it spooked me enough that I turned my chair around because it was coming from my backside, so I turned around so whatever it was, I could see it before it got close. But the next morning we got up and we started walking around, and we got up several times and went, 40, 50, 60 yards off in the woods with flashlights and didn't see nothing. Go back and sit back down, and then we'd hear sticks breaking. And like something was walking around and, back behind us. The next morning we got up and we walked all out through there, and I just kind of thought, man, we're not making any noise. The pine needles on the ground were probably 10 inches thick.
mm-hmm.
So we weren't breaking any sticks when we were walking through there. So whatever this was pretty heavy.
Oh yeah, had to be.
We never did see it, but I did see what I consider a UFO that night.
Really?
We had something was streaking across the sky, but it was pulsing. It would go a little bit and stop, and then it would go a little bit and stop, and it did that all the way across the horizon. It was cloudless night. The moon was down. All we could see was stars, and this one star just kept pulsing across the sky. And I've seen the space station, and it doesn't pulse. It goes in a steady travel.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I could call it a UFO because it was unidentified to me, but it was just really strange.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that makes sense. What about orbs? You ever seen orbs?
Not really, but that first day that I went to Brown Springs, as we were walking out of the cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
Dee said, "I'm going to take a picture." Now, I wouldn't doubt that we don't get a ghost in this picture. That afternoon, we get back to his house. He puts it on the computer, and sure enough, in that picture that he took, there was a red orb.
Oh, good grief.
Now, how crazy is that?
That's crazy.
And he said it. He absolutely stopped, and he said, and he was just taking picture of the trees, basically. And we were we were still in the cemetery. We were just about to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I wouldn't doubt that I don't get a ghost in this picture. And sure enough, he got a red orb.
It's just freaky. Yeah, I do, Ramona. I still want to go. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not into the other kind of stuff, but I just feel, I don't know, there's just a tug there. And, good night, Cryptid. God bless you, hon.
I don't feel that Brown Springs is a dangerous place to go. Like I said, I've been in there many times. I've never been in there with a weapon other than a knife and a walking stick.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has a lot to do with your intentions. I think it has a lot to do with your spirituality. I think an evil person could go in there and get in a lot of trouble.
Why do
I
you think?
really
Why do you think they hang around cemeteries?
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's just the creepiest part of the woods, so they must like it. I'm
But,
just
well,
teasing. I don't know.
even that cemetery is really not creepy. I thought it was really kind of cool. I mean, I think the oldest headstone in there was from like 1863 or something like that I saw. But there's a lot of them in there that are just rocks.
I have never been to a cemetery where I got creeped out. I mean, I used to hang out in the cemetery when I was a kid. I never got creeped out. I don't know what the
Yeah.
big deal is, but have you ever gone any place that you just felt like you had to leave, that you couldn't be there? Any other places besides Brown Springs where you just walk in and say, I can't be here and leave?
No, no. And I here last year, was it last summer? I think we went. The guys that I research with now, we went to and it was an old cemetery. It was a segregated cemetery. We went through the black part of the cemetery first, and I've got an EMF meter, and I took my EMF meter with me. And there's a fence around the black cemetery and a gate going into the white part of the cemetery. And there's, just as you go through the gate, there's this big oak tree. And as I walked out of that gate, I took about 10 steps and my EMF meter went off, one beep. And I thought that was weird. I'd never had it go off anywhere before.
Mm-hmm.
So I backed up and stood in the same spot and it wouldn't go off. And I walked around the tree, it wouldn't go off. Then, 30, 45 minutes later, and part of the cemetery is in the woods. I mean, there's headstones in the woods because it's so old that the trees have grown up around it.
Yeah.
But I got to one, and I guess it was, I don't know what you'd call it. It's like an underground mausoleum. It was concreted over the top, a great big deal. It wasn't an above ground mausoleum, but it was, I don't know, maybe there was whole families, like 8 or 10 people right side by side in some of these places. It's just whole families that were buried there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were very young. I don't think there was anybody that was over 40 years old in that whole cemetery.
Oh my.
A lot of them, and the death dates were around the time of the Civil War, so that could possibly be part of it. There was a lot of them that died in their 20s. But that could have been from cholera or
diseases,
scarlet fever or anything,
Mm-hmm.
But I got to one graveside and my EMF meter went crazy for about 20 seconds. I mean, it was off the charts, just beep, 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 beep. And the needle was going back and forth. And I thought, wow, that was just, and it wasn't spooky, but I thought that was just the coolest thing, because I watched paranormal stuff for years and seen the things that they've come across, and I do believe that there is some type of an electromagnetic field when they get pictures of ghosts and, different entities.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there is an electromagnetic source that they're drawing off of, to materialize. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's,
I don't know
but
enough about that
just
stuff.
It was just really odd that, and I've used my EMF meter and, when I've researched several times. When I first got it, I kept forgetting to take it out, but I got to where I take it out all the time now. But I just thought that was really cool that finally my EMF meter went off.
Yeah, I bet you that is something different since you're expecting it or waiting for it, I guess.
I mean, I really even wasn't expecting it because I've never had it happen before. But when it just went, the needle went crazy. It was pegging out all the way and then coming back down and coming back up. And the red light was flashing and it was beeping and it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
But after that, I couldn't get it to go off again the rest of the night.
Well, that's probably a good thing then.
Oh, and another thing, and I looked really close. There were no power lines anywhere close. There weren't any power lines going down that road at all, and none anywhere close to the cemetery. So, because that was my first thought. Well, maybe I'm under a power line, but it wasn't that.
Like, I don't know enough about them to even comment on it because I don't even know what they are actually.
Oh, I don't either. You know, I just thought that was pretty cool. Because up until that point, I didn't even know if it would work. You know, I mean, I had checked it against, you know, an electrical plug, and yeah, it goes off because it's emitting electricity. But you know, like in a lot of these paranormal shows I've watched, and I can't remember the guys from up northeast. They were plumbers that went out. They found that places that were having a lot of quote unquote paranormal activity with different crazy stuff happening, it was because of the amount of electrical wires close together in the ceiling. And that was what was causing these anomalies. It was just from electricity.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So, but then they did run across stuff that was really crazy too.
Yeah, I've watched some pretty, strange videos, and I just stopped watching them. I'm not into the paranormal stuff anymore.
But that was kind of the first thing that they would look for to debunk paranormal activity was, you know, they'd go check the breaker panel and see where all the wires were going, get in the attic and see if they were clustered together in places that they were, you know, above the places that were having these weird anomalies. And sure enough, in some places, that's what was going on.
Cool. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Barry. Good night, Rod. Good night, Jules. Good night, everybody that's leaving. God bless you. Don't forget to pray.
Good night, everybody. And I will text you tomorrow, Jared, if you're still on.
Well, Bob just timed him out. I don't know why, but Bob just timed him out.
Well, I'll tell you why later.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and jump off, and you can jump on if you would like to join the chat for a while. We're gonna watch. I'm watching some activity across the street. I blew up the screen a little bit because 2 of the windows blacked out completely, and there's nothing from here to there to black those windows out. So it has to be something that's outside. So I just blew it up so we can watch, but. You're welcome to jump on the chat and join us there. And I thank you very, very, very much for coming on and sharing your encounters and all the stuff that you know and you've learned is really cool, because something tonight I learned.
The things that I've learned in the last almost 3 years is just, I've got an enormous knowledge that I didn't have 3 years ago.
Same here.
And I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be doing what I'm doing now.
I didn't either.
But once you get the bug, you're kind of stuck with it, I think.
You do. I think you're right. Once it, because I guess it's just so overwhelming that you just can't let it go. I mean.
Well. Not only that, for every question you answer, there's 100 more questions to be answered.
What the heck is going on out there, guys? You hear that?
And just, it's fun to hear the speculation and what people think.
It is.
Think they understand, and it's. I've always enjoyed that. Looking back on it, I wish I would have become a biologist. Years ago.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it weird? Because now you look back and think about all these people out there that are doing the studies because they're scientifically involved, and some of the stuff that they come up with. It makes good sense to kind of add some of that to your research. I mean, it doesn't
Oh,
hurt at all.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
I think
It's
I think listening to
well, I try to look at everything in this field with no blinders on whatsoever, um, because the scope of the whole field is so broad, and it's like everybody always says, the rabbit hole goes deep, but not only does it go deep, it goes in many different directions.
it certainly does.
So, I just try to stay open to everything. I mean, if I hadn't seen the things that I've seen, I probably wouldn't be so open to some things.
Yeah.
But I've seen some pretty weird things that just don't make sense.
I have to agree with you there.
And someday I would hope to find some answers to them. Whether I do or not, I may never find the answers, but it's very fun to pursue that anyway.
Yeah, it makes two of us, and one of these days I'll get down there and maybe be able to meet you face to face and go to Brown Springs.
Sure. Or even over here to the Mineola Nature Preserve.
Yep, because I'm heading down that way in the next 2 weeks.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
what?
Let me know if you want to go to Brown Springs. I'll go with you.
Okay, sounds good.
Sure will.
Sounds good. All right, well, thank you again, Barry. I really, really appreciate it. And
Thank you very much for letting me come on. It's I enjoy getting on the live chats. It's kind of fun to tell my experiences.
Yeah, and I bet you.
It brings it all back, just like it happened yesterday or today. When I start talking about them again.
Yeah, I think it's good for people to talk about it, even if you got to talk about it over and over. Some people might get tired of hearing the same thing over and over again, but like me telling my stories. But the thing is, the more you talk about it, you can kind of put stuff into perspective. But thank you very much. I appreciate you greatly. Like I said, jump on the chat if you want and join the fun for a while. I don't know how long I'll stay tonight. We're gonna see if it rains. If it doesn't rain tomorrow, I'm heading down to Oklahoma again. So thank you again very much. I wish you the best
Okay.
of luck. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much.
God bless you, and I hope you come on again.
Oh, sure, anytime. And I need to get back with you soon and talk about the allergy stuff, so I can write all those things down.
Oh yeah,
So I don't
just
forget.
hook up with me on Messenger, and I'll help you go through that, or we can call and talk to each other later on.
Okay,
Maybe
no problem.
maybe
No
next
problem.
couple days, but I'm hopefully either tonight or tomorrow, so we can get you started on it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. God bless you.
God bless you too. Good night, Barry.
Good night.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate it big time. I love this. This is so cool. Okay, what did I miss? What is going on? What the heck is making that noise out there? There's something going through my trash. Yeah, it's not raining anymore here, but it was. Thank you very much, Barry, if you're listening. It was awesome. Appreciate you big time. Hi, Jamie. Are you talking to Bob? I'm so jealous. Jamie and Bob and Tony, I'm mad at all three of you. Meanies. Talking on the phone. And I wasn't there. Yeah, armadillo. Yeah. It's Matt's armadillo. Thank you so much, Barry. It was great. I'm just giving you grief, Jamie. Anyways, yeah, I talked to Dee a long time ago. It's been a while since I've talked to him. I pray for him all the time, and I'll tell him I'm praying for him. But he was telling me a bunch of stuff that was going on down there, and I saw a few of his pictures that he had sent me. He didn't give me permission to show them to anybody else, so I didn't even ask or say anything or offer. But I'm telling you, this one picture that Barry has is just incredible. You can see the baby in it. Just the cutest little thing. You can't imagine them growing up the way they do, and I know that's horrible, sorry to say. But anyway, some of them anyway. But what made me think about it is how small that was. That is about the size. Not here, Shadow. You can't mention it. You gotta do it. Well, I guess you can mention that. I don't know. They got rules now to talking about bananas, and that's what I'm gonna call that. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, just don't talk about it. Anyway, the small prints that I found up on the property, the little teeny ones where people told me they were little people. Well, looking at that picture, and I know the size of the baby Sasquatches that were running around the property up there, why couldn't it have been a baby Sasquatch? I don't know how old they have to be before they walk, but it was pretty small footprints. I have bananas. You want one? I have apples too. Yeah, my stomach's sitting here growling like, what the heck? Hey. Hey, Martha, are you inverted? That's bigger than a cat. What the heck is that? Ooh, someone inverted? I see something fairly large right there next to the basketball hoop, and it is lighter than the darkness. But it's bigger than a cat. I can't tell what it is. Ooh, and now I wish I had a flashlight. Hey! What the heck is out there? It might be a coyote, or it's bigger than a cat. I can tell you that. I can actually see it. It almost looks like it has a tan color to it. It wouldn't be a deer in the garbage, would it? Hear it? Yeah, I'm upstairs. What the heck? Hey! What the heck? No, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than a possum. There's no pancakes in there. Oh, guess what I hear? Here comes the drone. I want pancakes. Listen. Anyways, sorry I got distracted. I need some little rocks. Why? Can you hear the drone? Yeah, me too, right? I want pancakes now too, Matt. If I call my husband, yeah, I'm on Facebook, sadly, but yeah. I'll call my husband and ask him to make me pancakes. He'll be like, what? Are you crazy? Anyways, Sir Doss has tons of great pictures. They love pancakes? I don't know, I never fed them to him. I want pancakes. All right, what happened with Jared? All I saw was he got timed out. Oh, for language? Did you swear, Jared? I can't read above. I can't scroll up. I'm on my phone, Jared. I mean, I see two people, their comments, and that's all I can see on my phone. I can't scroll back. You didn't swear? Well, you normally don't swear, do you? No, Matt, you're not allowed to swear. You're bad. I do not see anything out there. I can hear, oh, I see it now. I see the eye shine. Hello, Chicano. We're just sitting at the window talking. It just, that eye shine popped up for a second. That was it. No, the camera is pointed towards a house across the street. Not that I'm, spying on them or anything. I'm not. You guys hear the hum of the drone? Yeah, so did I, Ramona, when we were talking. Oh, yeah. It's dark. And if I was to move this away from the lights there, you would not see anything. That's how dark it is. Anyways, wasn't that great talking to Barry? Last coffee. I'm really hoping. Hey, Ramona, do you know if it's going to... Oh, eye shine. Guys, right above my truck. Watch. Watch above my truck. Yeah, Lady in the Woods. Normally I'm deep in the woods on the place I used to put my camper, but now we're still in the woods, but actually we're in a subdivision. It's just very woody here. Very kind of remote. I know, Martha. No, I'm not in a camper. I'm on the second floor of my house. I'm looking out the window. Hey, Tim, welcome back. What kind of chances of rain, though, tomorrow? Are they talking about 20% again or 90%? I'm hoping and praying that that guy can get down there and get that started. Oh, my goodness. We just don't have much time. Squirrel Head Company. Oh, you guys are bad. You're still at it, aren't you? 70%. God bless America. Come on, Lord, no rain. I need to get the gravel down there so we can put the RV on. We only have till next week. Once that goes through, 5 days, and then everything has to be out of here. My facility closed. I still have to work. Sorry, but it was worth a time out for a loyal friend. We have a curfew. I'll still have time movies. Yeah, everything would have been fine without the swear word. You could still set it without the swear word. But you're not going to lose my friendship. You're not going to lose my friendship. You didn't curse? You wanted to, though, didn't you? Potguts is a bad word. I'm sorry, guys. Don't mind me tonight. I'm telling you, I am so tired. I know you didn't say the word, Jared. Okay. Okay, we just, like I said, you know how strict I am here, that's all. And I have good moderators, and sometimes the moderators even get mad at me because I don't have a sense of humor like they do, so it's okay, it's okay. We don't talk about certain things, and this is a safe place. But you're still loved. No, you're not always mad, Matt. You're silly. Next time, just put the dot, 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 and everybody will know what you mean. Trust me, they put all these symbols, you know. Like I said, I like my moderators because they kind of know what I'll tolerate and what I won't. It has to stay clean on this channel because I've got kids watching. Okay, now guys, watch to the far right. Watch that last window to the far right. Yeah, some old kids too. I'm kind of an old kid. You don't have to unsub unless you want to, Jared. Up on top to the far right, that's a window on the side of the house. And that window doesn't show up as much as the ones directly in front. But the one on a little bit further, I'm not mad. The one that's furthest to the right, there's no door right there. So when they come up from the back that direction, they usually black out that window, and then they either walk in front of the windows that you see visibly or they go under it. Let's just all be calm, guys, okay? Hey, Lane. Let's be calm and not be upset. Jared, behave yourself. But you don't have to go. But people just put symbols up and they know what that means. How you doing, Miss Lane? No, don't be upset. No one took your rabbit heads or your squirrel heads. You better be careful. I tell everybody to behave. You might as well get used to it, Jared. I yell at everybody here, trust me. Look, you know, people either like what's on this channel or they don't, and I have rules, and I'm sorry, I know people get upset. I mean, even you as moderator, sometimes you get upset with me because you think I'm being silly, but that's just the way it is. You know, you guys know how I am. I don't mean to offend or hurt anybody's feelings. I try very hard not to, but there's just certain things I just don't want on this channel. You know, I mean, there's plenty of other places where the people have no problem with that kind of stuff. I do. You know, I'm sorry. I used to cuss like a sailor, you know, and I just can't do it anymore since I became a Christian. It's very hard for me to do that. So I just don't do it, and I ask people not to. And for the most part, everybody's really respectful. Sometimes people go a little bit overboard, and you guys can tell when I'm not too happy about it. But, you know, if you have one channel out of 40 that you watch that doesn't allow swearing, what's so hard about that? It's not like I'm asking you to cut your hair for me or something. You can always exchange stuff for the foul language. You just, I mean, like I said, there's plenty of channels out there that have no problem with cussing. One of the reasons I'm not on DDoS's anymore, that I don't go there, is because of the cussing. I can't listen to it. That's just me. If someone, you know, hey, Jared, I'm the same way. Firefighter, You know, EMT, been around cops, been around a lot of people who cuss, but I quit. You know, I just stopped cussing. And my grandkids watch this, and now I've got the younger grandkids with their friends watching it. So it's just my rule. I'm sorry if it upsets you, you know. I mean, it's up to you whether you stay or go. I'm just asking for the rules to be respectful and abided on his channel. I mean, seriously, ask some of the moderators. I get mad if they tell bad jokes and they joke around, just say, just kidding. I still get mad at them, you know? You didn't finish the word, but that's why they jumped on it. It might be a technicality to you, but it's what my moderators do. Trust me, my grandkids are old enough to know what that FU means. You know, and that's, like I said, it's just the way it is here. But nobody's mad at you. It didn't change anything. You know, nobody feels any differently about you, for crying out loud. I mean, just you stay here, but just don't, you know, don't even pretend you're saying it. That's all. It's okay. I promise you, everybody has slipped at some point, Jared. But they all know me here. Wait till you see me in public. If you see me in public and you cuss like a sailor, I turn around and walk off. Because I just can't stand being part of it. I mean, I have to tolerate some, but that's just me. You know, that's why I don't have a lot of people around me. You know, they just don't like my my rules. I come from a bad background. That foul language was every word I've heard growing up, and at this point, I just don't want to anymore. And I love finding new words, like calling someone a cockroach instead, or a monkey face, or something like that instead of bad words. Good night, Pappy. And it's funny because I come up with some strange words to call people if I'm mad. And I sound like a child. Or an egg. Yes, exactly, Ramona. God bless you, Pappy. Seems like I'm pushing a lot of buttons here lately. I guess it's perfect timing that I'll be gone for a while, huh? Well, all right, guys. Well, thank you again. I appreciate Barry very much for coming on and telling his stories. You know, they shouldn't be, Ramona. I mean, in a way, I understand why they are. People are making this a lot worse than it actually is. Bailey, Colorado Bigfoot photos? No, I don't even know who that is. Kung Fu fighting. Are you singing that song? Yeah, it was good, Barry. I appreciate it. Do you remember that song, Kung Fu Fighting? That's too funny. Why, Ramona? Bananas. Yeah. Well, don't worry about it, sweetie. Like I said, just keep taking the stuff there and just make sure you're, if you guys have to, make your cough syrup like I showed you. You can email me, Jacobo. Apples and bananas, opals and mononos, opals and, I can't say that. It's okay, Matt. What group? You love Kung Fu Fighting? I hate that song. Oh my goodness. But I bet you I know most of the words, even though I can't stand the song. Isn't that sorry? Oh, that's a song, Apples and Bananas. Earworm. What? Now we're going back to that. Hold on a second. Oh, for pity's sake. Good night, Jared. Love you. God bless you, hon. I know, right? I can't stand it when a song's stuck in my head. Wheels on the bus go round and round. I'll be saying that all night long. That's what I have to do. I have to switch to that or Jesus Loves Me, one of the two. Yeah, that one too. There's so many songs out there. Oh, what was that other one? Something about Egypt. Walk like an Egyptian. That's what people were walking around just singing all the time. It was making me crazy. I'm telling you. And then my grandkids, when I'd play it, you know, for them, some of the older music, they would look at me like I was crazy. I mean, heck, my grandkids never even heard of Nirvana. You didn't say goodnight? Are you leaving, Sass? I don't want to say goodnight to the wrong people. I have a tendency to do that. Oh, good night. I'm not leaving. Okay, see what I mean? I would have said goodnight to you. I don't know. All right, well, I'll say goodnight anyway. At IMGUR, what? Scotty, sorry. See what I mean? Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head. Sorry. I didn't do it. She did it. It's her fault. Looking, oh yeah. Oh, okay. Hi, Dee, I'm leaving. Okay, Matt. Good night. Love you. God bless you. I'm leaving too. I'm gonna let everybody go. But yeah, that picture looked just like Boo. But I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go. I'm gonna say good night. God bless you. Don't forget everybody in your prayers. It was so nice to see Sarah. I didn't even get a chance to say hello to her. Oh, somebody else just texted me and said they were blocked. Oh, craziness. Anyways, I'll have to go figure this out too. We're getting a lot of people blocked that haven't been blocked. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm going to try to go get some sleep, Jamie. I need some sleep horribly. Way too many days without sleep. I'm tired. But if anybody wants to come on Wednesday night, let me know. And we still, like I said, 2 more. You're not blocked. Quiet. Thank you very much, Bobby, for posting that video. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I know. It's Matt's fault. Good night, guys. I love you very much. And I'll talk to you soon. If you want to come on live, just go ahead and send me an email, and I'll put you on. Okay? Good night. God bless you. Thanks again, Barry.